Hey, hey, hey! Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here, Pajama Grandma. We haven't met yet. Go ahead and put hashtag pajama in the comments below. So I know it's the first time you're being exposed to the Pajama Grandma. Pajama Grandma is very intentional. We'll chat about that another day. But today is day 20 of Supersizing Your Business Challenge. We're spending 20 days breaking down the exact step-by-step process that you need to use to supersize your business. It's a process. The process is the same for whatever type business that you have. It's how we apply that process that's different and makes us unique and special and makes our business supersizable and fantastic. Today I want to chat about automation and the importance of making things automatic in our businesses. Now, day before yesterday we talked about processes. We wrote down our process, the process we're talking about for this example. Because of course we can't do it all simultaneously unless we have a big team. If you have a big team or a big company, you can have all of your departments doing this activity simultaneously, which allows you to supersize your business even faster. But if it's just you or just you and a couple of people, then it might take a little bit longer because you're going to take one thing at a time and you're going to knock out the most important thing first and then the next most important thing and then the next and the next. And before you know it, you'll have exponential supersized results in your business. So let's talk a little bit more and in depth about automation and the importance of automation. I like to think of automation like habits. We know how powerful habits are in our lives. Good habits, little hard to form, but they make massive impact on our life and in the results we get. Think about if you're trying to go on a diet or if you're trying to create any change in your life. As soon as that becomes a habit and you've got it on automatic, it's not a challenge anymore, and your life just becomes so much better. I think about the habit of getting up the same time every day. I personally used to get up, sleep in. Sometimes I'd wake up early, sometimes I'd wake up late. I never had a morning routine at all, and my life was a little chaotic. Okay, it was a lot chaotic, and I struggled with a lot of things because I was starting my day off differently every single day, and I was getting up at different times every single day based on what I was doing that day. I think part of it stemmed from working shifts. Early in my career, I worked a Southern Swing shift rotation. And if you don't know what that is, it's 7 days on one schedule and then a day or two off. Then it's 7 days on second shift and a day or two off. Then it's 7 days on midnights or night shift and a 4-day off. So it's a messed up schedule, and it really messes up your time clock, and it's hard for us human beings to work that way. But once I left that role and I started to take control of my life, and I decided that I was going to wake up at the same time every single day of the week no matter what, and I made that a habit, my life just got so much simpler and so much easier. And I also got so much more done because normally people sleep in on the weekends. So instead of sleeping in on the weekends, I would get up at my usual time, and that meant I had hours, literally hours more that I could spend doing things I wanted to do to move my life in the direction I wanted it to move than if I were to have just slept in 2 days a week, because that automatically got me at least 6 to 10 hours more than I would have otherwise had to do productive things, to do things I wanted to do fun things. So that's an example of a habit that can really have an impact on our lives. I'm not saying you have to have a habit of getting up at the same time every day. I'm just giving it as an example of something that worked for me. Now, I believe that we should try to automate, and I say try because everything is not automatable. We can't automate everything in our businesses, but we can automate a lot of things. So the process, and there's just a couple key things we want to make sure that happen whenever we automate a process, and it should go without saying, but I find that everything needs to be said usually. When we automate a process, we need to make sure that it maintains the integrity of the outcome that we want. Now, we don't really automate an entire process usually. Sometimes we can, but a lot of times it's just the step in a process or a small part of a process that we can automate. Let me give you an example that I'm working through with everybody else as we do this exercise. I am talking about how I use content to attract customers to me and to my business. Now, some things I can automate in that process, other things I can't. I cannot automate me actually doing the work of producing the content. I could hire people to write articles or things, but I'm doing a lot of video these days. I can't automate this. I can't automate my actual speaking and performing and doing the video. I have to do that. But I can automate a whole lot of things around that process to make that process simpler and easier. One of the things I do is I automatically, and I made it a habit, which comes from the morning routine, to produce my content, the content that only I can produce, which is my videos. I do them first thing in the morning. I get up, I get cleaned up, I'm one of those people that actually puts on a clean pajamas and robe every morning, because that is my thing. I'm the pajama grandma. Most people get up and get dressed. I get up and put on different pajamas and robes. I know, funny, right? That it works for me, and it's really, really comfortable. I don't know, but if you haven't tried it, being able to work in cozy, comfy clothes is awesome. Back to the topic at hand. So content. So I create my content first thing in the morning. Now, I have to make the video. I use tools, though, and systems to make it super simple. I'm shooting this on Facebook Live, and then I'm going to share it through my computer on Instagram, IGTV, which is what I'm talking to you on, and a bunch of other places, because I can automatically share it to a whole bunch of other places. I use those tools and software and systems and things like Zapier and connecting tools to automate and make the process of disseminating and getting the word out and sharing my content all over the place. But I still have to actually produce it. I can't automate 100% of it. And you're going to find the same thing in your business. Whatever process you're working on, some things you can automate, some things you can't. There are some things that are uniquely you and your genius, and you're the special ingredient to what you're doing that you're going to continue to have to do. And that's okay, because you're finding ways to systematize and automate around that to make it quicker and easier. And as we talk over the next couple of days, you're going to find ways to make that even more so. So something that I have to do, some things I can automate. Some of the tools, let me see what I put down here for notes. I'm going to put my coffee down. Although I like drinking coffee in the morning. I need a magnifying glass to see things. Another part of the Pajama Grandma. So I've just put some notes for myself about improvement areas for my content. I'll share it. I put my content needs to be more well planned out. It needs to be more well thought out. I also need to be able to speak. I should probably take some voice lessons. But I am one of those people that can hop on the camera now. It didn't used to be that way a few months ago, but I can hop on and I can talk about just about any subject. I think I might have shared that I have a brain stored 3x5 card file, old school, of topics that I can talk about. So if I get up in the morning and my brain's a little foggy and I don't know what to talk about, I just randomly pick a card out of there and that becomes my topic for the day. That has been working in terms of understanding and learning my voice, but it's not a great way to produce content. So I learned some things over the weekend, because I like to study on the weekends, about really planning out and purposefully creating my content. And I'll create a content calendar. Now, to automate that process, I will create a worksheet or a spreadsheet, probably in a Google Doc or Excel spreadsheet, that will plan out my topics ahead of time and my stories and things I'm going to share, so it isn't such a hodgepodge rambling, and there's more purpose to my content. So that's a way to optimize my content. That should have been yesterday, but I thought about it today. And then software. I was just saying, Facebook Live, YouTube. There are so many software programs and apps, mobile apps, and there's thousands of them coming out every year. I think there's I can't remember how many million apps there were last time I looked, and that was a year or so ago. There's millions of them. So if you want to know how to do anything or connect anything or figure things out, there's probably already an app for it. It's just a matter of grabbing it and using it and putting it to work in your business. So again, automation, anything that we do repeatedly, anything I do over and over again, I'm going to find ways to automate part of that process, if not the entire process. There are tools that can automate entire processes. The more I go from the offline brick and mortar world to transitioning to the online world, the more I realize that there are just infinite possibilities in what we can do to automate our businesses. Now, I want to give one concrete example in case what the process that you're optimizing and automating is a real world physical one. I want to give an example from my Italian food business as well as the one that with content that I'm sharing, because that is one that I can really easily automate. One that we had in the Italian food business that was really, remember, I made handmade Italian food. And that means everything was super labor intensive because we did everything by hand. And part of the process of what we needed to do was once we filled the forms, we had a sheeter to sheet the dough out and it would make a sheet of pasta. Then we would have balls, we hand rolled balls, and we put each of them into the molds. Then we'd roll out another sheet of pasta on top of that. And then we use rolling pins to roll out the forms and to crimp or to, to crimp, we called it a crimper, to crimp or to smash together the dough around the ball so we could cut it apart by hand and then cook it. Well, that rolling pin process kept our arms really lean and strong, but it was a killer. It was a hand killer from gripping the rolling pin. It was a shoulder and arm tax. It was very, very hard on our bodies. And so we started to find solutions to make that little step in the process easier, because crimping or pressing that dough together wasn't negatively, actually it did negatively impact the quality of the product if we didn't crimp it together or rolling pin it right. If we missed a spot, we'd get what we call the splitter, or a piece that would leak. It wouldn't seal when we cooked it. So we needed to find ways, number one, to improve the quality of that step of the process and to make it easier on our bodies and to automate it. So the first thing we did is we found a dough press, one of these giant round dough presses that was manual. You could just push the lever down and you would hold it down and you could press the whole form at once. Well, it wasn't the right size, so we had to do each form twice, but it was still way more efficient and more automatic than what we were doing. And then down the road, my husband and I and one of his friends designed a proprietary piece of equipment that we called the crimper or the press that used hydraulics and plates that we could put two forms in simultaneously, push two buttons simultaneously so no one would get hurt, and then it would crimp two entire plates at a time. So that was an example of part of the process that we were able to automate. Now down the road we probably could have gotten an automatic press, but we weren't that fast making them by hand. You're not that fast that you need an automatic press. So it was easier just to put the forms in, press the buttons. So that's a concrete, real-world example of something that you can create or something that you can find that automates a process that actually improved the quality of our output, because we had way less splitters. We had one day where I think we had no splitters ever. That's very unusual. But this piece of equipment made that possible. We used to have days where we would have hundreds or thousands of splitters, which is really, really devastating because it creates food waste, which stinks in any industry, is to have wasted product. So that's it for today. Think about today, your process, your assignment or your action step for today is to think about the process that you optimized yesterday and what is available. Are there places that you could automate? Are there things that are repetitive there? And if there are, what options are there to automate? Look for equipment, tools, and software, things like that, because that's going to be your fastest, easiest way to automate parts of the process. That's it. Have a fantastic day. I will see you tomorrow with day 21 of our Supersize Challenge.